started our basic matrix, what a matrix is, the size, adding, subtracting, multiplying by a constant, and solving equations. If your Math Excel is not done from yesterday, make sure you get that done. Today, we are going to talk about multiplying matrices. It is a little bit different in that it's not as simple as just multiplying corresponding numbers. When we multiply, we actually take a row times a column. And the first part is probably what you would guess. You multiply the corresponding pieces. So 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. But then you add these together. And so when I add all those, I get negative 21. So what happened is I took a row times a column, and I just got a single number for my answer. In general, to multiply matrices, the number of columns in the first must equal the number of rows in the second. So, think about our size like we talked about yesterday. This matrix is what size? 1 by 3. What size is this one? In order to multiply, the number of columns in the first one has to equal the number of rows in the second one. So the first thing I always do is write their size. These inside numbers have to be the same in order to be able to multiply. If they are not, you just say I can't multiply these, no solution. The size of our answer is given by these outside numbers. So this is a 1 by 1, that's why I got a 1 by 1 matrix for my final answer. So that is where we will always start. Unlike traditional multiplication, when you are multiplying with matrices, order does matter. If I flip this around and wanted to do C times R, what's the size of matrix C? 3 by 1. Matrix R, so I can still multiply them, but how big would my final answer be? A 3 by 3 matrix, which is very different than the 1 by 1 matrix we got. So order matters with these. All right, so let's actually multiply a couple of matrices. I want to find A times B. The very first thing I need to do is check if I can multiply it.
We need a little bit of time, right?
Sorry.
Appreciate it.
No problem. So we need to check our size. How big is the first one? How big is the second one? So I can multiply them because the inside numbers are the same. How big will my final answer be? So I am looking for a matrix with 2 rows, 4 columns. All right. To get that, we are going to use this first row to get the first row of my matrix. And we are going to take the first row times the first column, because you always multiply a row times a column. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4, 16. Negative 1 times negative 3 is 3. You multiply those 3 things, you add them all together to get 23. So my first entry is a 23. I'm still working on the first row, so I'm still using the first row of A, but now I'm on the second column, so I'm going to go to the second column of B. So I multiply the first numbers. 2 times 5 is 10. The second numbers. 4 times 8 is 32. The third numbers. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. I add those together and I get 41. Next one. Moving to column 3. So 2 times 1 is 2. 4 times 0 is 0. Negative 1 times negative 2 is 2. Add that all together and we get 4. Last one. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 6 is 24. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Add those together, and we get 33. Are there any questions on how I got that row? To get the second row, we're just going to use the second row of matrix A, and we're going to go through the same columns. So 5 times 2 is 10. 8 times 8 is 64. 0 times negative 3 is 0.
8 times 8.
Oh, sorry. I jumped over to the second column in the middle of that, didn't I? Okay. 5 times 2 is 10. 8 times 4 is 32. 0 times negative 3 is 0. Thank you. Second one. 5 times 5 is 25. 8 times 8 is 64. 0 times 1 is 0. We get 89. Third one. 5 times 1 is 5. 8 times 0 is 0. 0 times negative 2 is 0. We get 5. Last one. 5 times 4 is 20. 8 times 6 is 48. 0 times negative 1 is 0. And we get 68. What questions do you guys have for me right there? What if I asked you to find B times A? The size of matrix B is 3 by 4. What's the size of matrix A? 2 by 3. Rows by columns. Can I multiply those? No. So B times A doesn't exist. Alright. I want to see how well we're doing. I'm going to put one up and give you just a couple minutes to start it. I want to see if people can start it or if we're confused with that part. Some of you have it done. Some of people are kind of stuck on where to start, and some of you are in the middle. Let's kind of make sure everyone's on the right track. The first one is a 2 by 2. Second one has 2 rows, 4 columns. So we can multiply them. How big is my final answer? 2 by 4. Okay. To get the first row of your matrix, you use the first row there. And then I go to each column. So you multiply the first numbers. 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Add, we get negative 2. Second column. 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. Third one. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. We get 2. Last one. 2 times 6 is 12. Negative 2 times 2 is 0. 12 plus 0.
Negative 2 times 2.
Sorry. It's a long day, apparently. Did I say negative 2 times 2?
Yeah.
And still wrote 0. Okay. So then that gives us 8. Then we need our second row. So we're going to use the second row to get it. We take the second row through each of those columns. So 1 times 2 is 2. 0 times 3 is 0. So we get 2. Next one, 1 times 1 is 1. 0 times negative 1 is 0. We get 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 0 times 3 is 0. We get 4. The last one, 1 times 6 is 6. 0 times 2 is 0. And we get 6. How are we doing with that one? Okay. Final example then. All right, what's the size of the first one?
2 times 2.
And the second one?
2 times 2.
So can we multiply? How big will my answer be?
2 times 3.
So I only have to get 4 numbers here. Okay. To get the first row, we use our first row. Multiply it by our columns. So 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Add those together. We get 5. Do our second column. So 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 3 times 4 is 12. So we get 14. Find the second row. We have to multiply the second row times each. So 0 times 1 is 0. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. 4 times 2 is 8. And that gives us 9. Last one, 0 times 2 is 0. Negative 1 times 0 is 0. 4 times 4 is 16. And we get 16. Are there any questions with this? Then you guys have time to work on that Math Excel and hopefully get it done so you don't have any